So the next thing we're going to take a look at is just a small tweak to our text area. So if you start typing a long tweet, we want the text area to expand. And for that, we're going to use this stimulus components library. So we've got stimulus text area auto grow. And since we're using import maps, we'll just copy the name of the package. And then we can go here and run bin import map pin and paste in our package name. And now that it's pinned, we can go and register it. So we can copy this here and go across to our app JavaScript folder and controllers index. So we can go in here and we'll move this import up to the top. And we should already have application being loaded. And then we'll just call our application register. So we'll go and just paste that at the bottom and hit save. And then we should be able to then just add data controller text area auto grow to our text area here. So the problem you'll see is if we do like multi-line, it starts scrolling and we don't really want that. So we'll go to our tweet form. And then we've got our text area here. So what we can do is say data and we can say controller and we'll just paste in our text area auto grow and then reload this page. And now we can type line 1, put in a few more line breaks and things like that. So we can send our tweet and we're only getting single line breaks in between, even though we put a whole bunch in, but I think that's probably for the best in terms of output. So we're not actually going to fix that issue. So that just shows you how to use stimulus components and we're now done with that. The next thing that we're going to do is that when you post your tweet, instead of redirecting to this page, we want to just insert it using a turbo stream. So we'll go back to our tweets controller. And on create, if the tweet saves successfully, we can take out our redirect code here and we can instead say render a turbo stream. And we'll say turbo stream dot prepend. And we'll need to prepend this to a div called tweets. We'll add an ID of tweets to our index page. So we'll go in here and we'll just wrap this in a div and we'll say div ID of tweets, and that's where all our tweets are now rendered. And then what we can do here is we can render a partial, and that partial then is going to render tweets tweet. And we need to pass locals, and that's our variables for the view, and we need to pass in the tweet, and we'll say the tweet is the variable tweet. So we can save this now and go back and reload. And now if we say a new tweet and hit tweet, you can see it just comes straight in at the top of the page, which is good. The next thing that we want to do here is basically have some way of highlighting it. So I kind of want the background of it to like maybe start out blue and fade out or something like that. So we can do that with Tailwind, and we could go to our tweet and add a data controller to it. So we could say data controller blink, and we'll save that and then go to our controllers here and just create a new one called blink controller.js, and we can copy this across and we'll say blink, and then on connect we basically want to remove whatever the background color is. So if we make that configurable, we'll say static values and we'll have class to remove, which is a string. And then what we can do here is say this.element.classList.remove, and then we can pass in and say this.class to remove value. And we can also just do a quick check that we actually have that first, so we can say has class to remove value, and we can put that in. Else we maybe want to do like console.error and say link controller has no class to remove value, and so we can save that. So we'll want to go back to the tweet and add data blink class to remove value, and then we can say like bgblue 200, and we'll add that class on here and say bgblue 200. And then what we also want to do then is transition, and we can say transition colors, and then hopefully if we reload this you can see all of our tweets do that. So we'll just add a duration to this, and we'll maybe say duration 1 second and reload, and you can see it fades in and fades out quite nicely. And so the only thing is we only want to add this if the element is new. So I think what we want to do here is put the rest of our tweet into a component so we can reuse it quite nicely. So we'll say bin rails generate component, and we'll say tweet, and then we can have our tweet component, and we can have that accept a tweet. So we'll say add a reader tweet, and we'll create an initializer method also that takes a tweet and then just sets that. So we'll say at tweet equals tweet, and we'll save, and then we can open this template up and basically take everything out of the inside of this, go to our tweet component and paste it all in. So we will save that, and then in here we can render our tweet component. So we can say render tweet component dot new and pass in our tweet, and then hit save and make sure this all still works, which it does. And then we can basically go up here and say something along the lines of if local assigns dot fetch, let's say new content, and we'll say that defaults to false. Then we can go down here and say else and end, and we'll basically copy this for the bottom and just remove all of that new stuff. So we can remove our background, our duration, and all this data controller stuff, and basically hit save. So this new content we can set in our controller. So if we reload here, you can see tweets load in as normal as they should. And then if we go back to our tweet controller, and we can basically say then new content true, and then if we add a new tweet and hit tweet, that should be loading in with our background class and stuff on it, which it is, but some of the stuff didn't work. So we got data controller, data blink class to remove, bgblue 200, but for some reason we didn't actually get it blinking. So I think what we need to do here is request an animation frame. So we don't want to remove our class before it even has a chance to animate. So we'll run request animation frame, then remove the class, and then so we can reload this, and we'll just try again, hit tweet, and that works. So that allows us to give the user some kind of expectation that new content has just faded in, and I'm quite happy with how I've got that looking. Now we've actually introduced a bit of a bug here. So because we're using turbo streams just to update our content, our form's not getting reset So we still have our previous tweet text in here. So what we want to do is go back to our controller for tweets, and we can actually render an array of turbo streams. So we can go here and do something like this, and then we can put a comma beside this, and then we can do a turbo stream dot replace, and we're going to replace the tweet form, which is a partial of tweets slash form, and I'll just put some brackets around this just to make sure it all works properly. So we'll hit save here, and on our form we just need to go in and give it an ID. So we'll call it tweet form, and just make sure, so we used an underscore here, we'll just change this to an underscore. And then if we go and reload the page and we say new tweet, hit tweet, you'll see our content loads in and our nice little blink happens, and then also the form gets replaced and is a completely new version. So we can say new version, and that works as well. So that wraps up our turbo streams for posting new content.